I want to move on to maybe about the sounds that you created in this album. I know that you're like a music tech nerd, and you talked about each of the instruments going through some sort of synthesizer. And I know that your mentality is using the least amount of instruments to create the most quality sound. And why is that? Why would you, can you go into that a bit?
You don't need a lot of instruments. On Brion's album, there aren't too many instruments playing at the same time, and yet he made each one have such a full sound, such a full flavor by treating them through processing them through synthesizers and everything we discussed earlier, all these special effects. But that's cool with me. At least it's not confusing. It's your mind, your brain is listening to 4 or 5 different great sounds at once. Of course, the drums are probably the star of any production, you know.
Right.
But then the other 4 instruments are like really fat on this album.
Yeah. Do you also value the idea of like quality over quantity with
Absolutely.
instruments?
Yeah. I mean, I think that's something we both see very much eye to eye on, and probably something I learned from you. And the Beatles, of course, and George Martin, and you know, I think Tony mixes similarly. That's someone you looked up to, George Martin. Yeah,
but George Martin is one of my heroes, and not so much Phil Spector, because he did what I was talking about. He did a mishmash sound, but it was good. But I don't want to be a Phil Spector. George Martin was my kind of person because he studied music, which I have, and then he was a house producer for EMI Records, and he worked with everybody. His experience was like, you know, he worked with about 100 different artists who were all different, you know, from folk singers to opera singers. And that's kind of my background in a weird way when I was growing up. I wasn't a rock and roller only. I was in a symphony orchestra. I was in a brass band, and I did sing with vocal groups and all that. So I saw George Martin was the only producer who did what I did, who grew up the way I did. And so I'd be bored if I'd made a rock and roll record every time I made a record. You know, I have to do something different every time. And of course, there are modern producers whom I respect now, you know, over the years. And the ones who are more musical are the ones I respect, who put more music into it rather than, I don't know what to say, like chopped up stuff, you know. I mean, I know how to make loops, and I know how to make stutter edits and all that stuff and all that, but they're good up to a point, you know. It's not, you should only have things like that just for a little bit in a production, just to catch your, and something a little ear flea, you know. And but not a whole production of just chopping things up, loops, and heavily processed vocals. I hardly treated Brion's vocals. I mean, I might have tuned maybe 5 notes, whereas you know, other people like their notes tuned like slammed. You know, Lady Gaga might like that. And, you know, but I don't approve of that. You know, I like to hear somebody sing a little bit out of tune. It sounds natural. You know, it sounds like somebody. You know, people sometimes sing a little out of tune out of grief. You know, and that if you sing something a little flat, it's sad. You know, and I don't like to fix everything.
I think we both very much feel that, you know, the objective is to get the take. You know, we're not comping and piling vocals on top of vocals. We want to. That's what I enjoy about being a musician is putting the effort in to learn how to do what I want to do, how to get the sound that I hear in my head, you know, and yeah, that's.
I have something to add about that, about the performance. It's very, very important that we have this obstacle that people who make films don't have. You have sound and vision. We just have sound. So I learned this very early in the game, and I worked with a few great singers whom I was able to get them to be melodramatic when they sing, to put across the emotion. You have to sing a little more towards that melodramatic side, because when a person's got the radio tuned in, they're going to say, oh, they'll listen to somebody who's kind of a little bit overacting, but like opera singers do that every night, you know, like, whoa, they go like that, you know. So I mean, you've got to get people, the song isn't just words and music, it's emotion is the third element. What the hell are you talking about? What the hell are you singing about? A broken heart? Well, sing like you've got a broken heart, for God's sake, you know? Are you happy? Sing like you're happy.